Welcome Aquarius to your in-depth monthly forecast for October 2025. I'm going to share with you first of all some of the big themes of the month ahead. Then on screen I'll share your event chart right at the beginning of October, which always provides an influential backdrop for the whole period. I'll then go through each of the key influences frame by frame to give you a clear picture of what to expect in the month ahead. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell. Thank you so much for joining me. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, please help it to continue to thrive and do so now. Please click or tap also on the bell and notification symbol. As you come into this new month, Aquarius, Mars, the planet of desire, is right at the top of your chart. That suggests that you're going to be quite bold when it comes to ambitions. But it's going to be joined, Mars in Scorpio, by first Mercury and then the Sun. So as the month goes on, initially I think there's part of you that's wanting to bring a spark of variety into your situation, be a bit more free-spirited and independent. But if change is something you're hankering for around your work, the chances are things can really start to fall into place as the month draws to a close. But just before I go into that, I want to share with you about my unique offer. You can order your personal natal forecast for year 2026 now, and I'll give you the rest of this year free. But also you'll get 30% off the individual prices, and you'll get your life roadmap report in my special package. That really helps you to understand the patterns that have played out in your life so far, all of us. It's totally unique to each person, but understanding those patterns and matching them to the forecast will help you to make your moves in the new year much more shrewdly. But also in my special offer, you'll get your free general zodiac forecast for each of the 12 signs, but also your Chinese forecast, your Vedic forecast, and your love forecast too in my special booklets. Please see the link below for more. On the screen now, I'm showing the event chart. Now we need to be mindful of what's in your zodiac sign, which is Pluto, but also your two rulers, Saturn traditional and Uranus modern. So Pluto's parked up just on that first house cusp because on the 5th of May, Pluto went into a retrograde. It's going to go direct in the middle of this month. It's inverted back 2.5 degrees. But look at the position of your modern ruler, Uranus, also in retrograde. They're in a trine still, as they have been pretty well since Uranus moved into the sign of Gemini. And that's an electric energy, which can be very constructive. And they're going to be visited in a stimulating way by Venus, the planet of relating, but also of money, also at the heart of the month. So that's really exciting. But we always need to be mindful of the two luminaries. The moon is parked up in the 12th house. Suggestion you could feel a bit sensitive at times this month. If you look at the position of Jupiter, the planet of fortune, it's in your 6th house, very much to do with work, fitness, can be to do with where we want to be a bit more virtuous. But they're actually in an opposition, but in a T-square with Mercury, which, like the Sun, is in the free-spirited 9th house. Now we know the sign is very much about balance, equilibrium, exchanges of communication, and can be about relating. The 9th house can be about contracts. With Mercury there, which can be very much a business planet, Jupiter can be very much a deal maker, they're in a square. I would say that's a square that can be a good thing for you. It can give you a positive attitude as you come into this month, but just be aware the moon is in the mix too. So the moon's emerging from a quarter moon, which came to pass at the end of September. And that quarter moon, a 9th, 12th house energy, what that can do is things that you may ordinarily shrug off can have a tendency to be amplified, but particularly things that, maybe are a little bit more to do with the emotional domain. So just be aware that 9th house energy is very, very positive, very expansive, but it can be very enlarging, and the 12th house energy is very tender, psychological, and to do sometimes with secrets or even people that we can't necessarily completely trust. You can see right at the top of the chart there is that position of Mars. So that's going to give you a lot of strident energy. But look at Pluto and Mars. They're actually in a square by about 4 degrees. These are the two rulers of Scorpio. If you're wanting to go for something this month in a very direct way, your ambition can definitely be emboldened. But just remember, the moon is quite tender as you come into the month. The other influence we need to be mindful of is your traditional ruler Saturn, which over the last couple of years, apart from the 25th of May to the 1st of September, has been in your sector of everyday money. But also the second house can be about our foundations and can be about our self-worth. If you've really worked on those areas, become very disciplined about your expenditure, teased out some costs that weren't really necessary, but also been working inside yourself in terms of really strengthening your resilience and appreciating the qualities you have. Saturn has been an asset, but it may be that an income source that you used to have has contracted over these last couple of years. But I've got some very exciting news to share with you towards the end of this month, which could see you gain a reward for a lot of hard work you've been putting in. So Aquarius, as we make our way into the month on the 3rd to the 6th, Mercury in that 9th house energy can give us a real appreciation of personal independence, space, travel, but it's in a quincunx with Saturn. Not a good time to be too free and easy with resources, to be honest. But on the 6th, Mercury joins up with Mars in your 10th house. If you have been thinking about changing your job, Mercury there's great because it can give you the impulse to update your online presence, CVs, resumes, have different resumes or CVs for different opportunities. Really sharpen up how you might be perceived by people who are in a position of influence. Also, Mercury moving to the top of your chart could see you think about self-employment. If that's something you've always aspired to, entrepreneurship, the desire for that could become red hot as this month goes on. The 7th sees a full moon. Full moons are when the sun and the moon are basically competing. The sun's urging you to open things up, but also get in touch with your more philosophical side. The moon in the 3rd house can be about quick thinking, but not necessarily be so in touch with our emotions. But your ideas and what they mean to you can come to the fore over the next 2 weeks. If you do work in media, technology, any kind of interactive sector, that's going to be a key period of the month and the year for you. On the 13th, however, Venus the Relator, which starts this month in the passionate 8th house, and potentially could bring some rewards in the first 2 weeks to do with a contract, or maybe a partner could have some good news, then moves into your sister air sign of Libra, replacing Mercury, but forges a dazzling link to your modern ruler Uranus, but also to Pluto in your sign. A conversation you have, and it might be around a contract, could prove to be very, very positive right at the heart of this month. Also Pluto, which has been inverting in your sign since the 5th of May, goes direct on the 14th. So that's great as well. If you have been feeling that you've been treading water about something you're very invested in, it can now start to gain traction. But the electric energy of Uranus in the 5th house is really pushing you to showcase your unique abilities. Aquarius people have a duality. Some Aquarius people perhaps are more noticeably different, novel, like to be a little bit fresh in their approach, but other Aquarius people can actually be really quite adhered to more traditional approaches, and a blend of those two energies, Saturn and Uranus, is essentially what the duality is about. But I think what Uranus is going to do, it's obviously inverting back into Taurus at the end of the first week of November. But when it returns back into Uranus next year on the 26th of April, what it will do is give you a 7-year window of opportunity to really turn up and absolutely dazzle people with your unique ideas, forward thinking and innovation. And you can become very much the flavour where in the past perhaps some of your foresighted ideas weren't really receiving as much recognition as they could. And there could be an example of that at the heart of this month. So it can be very heartening to get some great feedback, but you could also have a connection with someone romantically who's different to you, comes from a different cultural background, but there's something fated about that connection right at the heart of this month. Or it could be about business, because Venus can be about money. Now, the 15th to the 26th sees Mercury and Mars broadly aligned. They're exact on the 20th. And that's a combination which I think is great if you are wanting to reach for the stars professionally. Because Mars all this month is going to give you extra authority. What Mercury does in a conjunction with Mars is give us the brain power and the communicational sharpness, but together they're quite a punchy combination, particularly with Mars in Scorpio, which is it traditionally rules. So it can give you much more self-confidence to raise your profile, seek out the golden prize. But there is on the 21st a new moon in your sister air sign of Libra, the 9th house. So that desire for change or refreshing parts of your existence is going to be strong. It is quite a complex new moon. It's not without its challenges, but it's followed immediately by Neptune inverting back into Pisces, joining up with Saturn. Neptune will be there through to the end of the 26th of January. Saturn, of course, through to the middle of February. So this next period, these next 3 or 4 months, is going to be a lot about the foundational parts of your situation. But if you've really beavered away and really made some significant changes, become much more disciplined about expenditure, become much more conscious of the worth and value of things. It's not just down to the price, it's down to the intrinsic benefits that we gain from whatever we purchase. So if some more frivolous spending has made way in your situation, it's because you've been working on what's really essential. And if you've worked hard on it, you're going to get your reward in the last phase of this month. Because on the 23rd, Aquarius, the sun reaches right to the top of your chart. And that, if you recall, is the start of the journey of this month with Mars right at the top of your chart. It's just that the sun clashes with Pluto, just like Mars did at the start of October. What's the significance? Well, that unique part of your nature may in some ways need to conform with the expectation of whoever you're negotiating with. So if it is for a new job, you might not get absolutely everything you want, to be honest. You could have a battle of wills in a current situation. You could even have a battle of wills in a current romantic relationship. If one partner, even if subtle ways, tries to dominate the tie, that could be an issue at this part of the month. But also I think there's part of you that wants to be much more direct. You know, you perhaps have been a tad idealistic in your past. I think you're being much more realistic as this month goes on. You're seeing the world as it is, and that could surprise certain people that you're interacting with, that you just punch through and seize opportunities for what they are. As the month comes to a close, Mercury moves into the friendliest part of your scope. There's a lot of drama this month. You know, obviously you could find yourself traveling early in October, exploring new options, learning new information, perhaps changing things up, seeking more variety. But as the month goes on, it is very much to do with the physical world. Whether it is to do with your work, whether it's to do with other ambitions, to do with property, you're determined to push forwards and not be defeated. And Mercury at the end of the month, moving into the friendless part of your chart, going opposite your modern ruler, just says, give yourself permission to have some fun. But I've kept the best till last, because when Jupiter moved into your sector of work in or at the end of week 1 in June. It was conflicted by your modern ruler. They're going to be forging a wonderful trine as this month comes to a close, but Mars is in the mix as well. So a grand water trine. Water is about emotion, but for you, the houses they're in is very earthy. Saturn 2, Jupiter 6, so Saturn 2 is very Tauran, 6 is very Virgoan, and 10 of Scorpio Mars, very much to do with Capricorn. That earthy energy, if you're in tune with your emotions, but also your ambitions, I feel all the dedication you've been investing over the last 2.25 years with Saturn making its way through Pisces, which is not its favourite sign, will and can be rewarded, but it is down to how much you've rolled up your sleeves and really put maximum effort in and really used every ounce of your dedication, and then you could see something really transform, because Saturn can have a spiritual dimension to it. The second house, as I mentioned before, can be about our sense of self-worth. If you really worked on that, that energy is going outwards, and that can reflect back to you what you're getting from the world, because the world just instinctively knows that you value yourself more, so the world will value yourself more. So some very powerful visualization can be very important to you to seize the golden prize this month. To understand what year 2026 holds for you, please click on the link within this video and you can watch your Aquarius deep dive video. Thank you so much for joining me, fellow water carriers, water bearers. Have a great October, all the best, and goodbye.